Good afternoon. Hello, that's better. Hello. Nice to see you all here. I'm really grateful that we can have another lecture series. It has been just this really beautiful gift that Pat has worked so hard in bringing different speakers in. Thank you. Month after month, and next month, May 17th, I believe is the date that we are having a speaker come to talk about palliative care and hospice and the things that maybe we don't know about it. So I know it is something that we all will experience at some point. So wherever we are on the journey, it's just really great to be together to ask those questions and to learn together. And as you know, these are recorded. So if you happen to miss it or are out of town and aren't able to be here in person, that you can always go to our website and you can look at the past speakers that we have had as well. We only missed the very first one, which I had a really hard time remembering, and you know what it was. Is this normal aging or something else? So we need Danielle back so we can record her. It was just really brilliant and good. I also wanted to let you know that today our resource room is open. If you have not yet seen it, but our caregivers resource room, it is just a beautiful space. We all will have an opportunity to either be a caregiver or to need a caregiver. And so really a great space and a really wonderful part of our ministry. We have people that can walk up with you and show it to you if you haven't yet seen it. With those announcements, I would like to say a little prayer for us before I introduce you to our speaker. So let's pray. Gracious and loving God, we are so grateful for this day. We are grateful for these veterans who have served our country so faithfully and well. We thank you for your presence in our lives and for the way that you journey with us every step of the way. So bless this time together and our learning and our discovering in Christ's name. Amen. So Aretha Gibson is the Outreach Veteran Service Officer with Sarasota County's Veterans Service Office. Both she and her husband are retired Navy. I believe they have 6 children. I am so sorry. That's like one more than we have, which is way too many. That's all I can say. But God bless her that she's here today. We are so grateful just to hear what you have to teach us and for the questions that you could answer. So if you would help me welcome Aretha, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. As she told you, I spent 20 years in the Navy. I am a retired Navy chief. My husband is a retired Navy firefighter. We do what we do because we love veterans. We love to continue to serve. When you get out, it's hard to find a place where you belong, and this just gave me another sense of meaning, right? You get to continue the camaraderie. I'm going to talk to you about a couple things today. One is what Veterans Benefits Unit actually does. One is going to be a brief overview about aid and attendance for the veteran and for the surviving spouse. And then the last one is going to be a quick overview about compensation. How many Vietnam era veterans are in this room? Okay, good. So that's why we're going to talk about compensation, because that's important. If I could figure out how to go. Okay, so the mission I am going to read just because you need to know what it is. The Veterans Benefits Unit assists former members of the Armed Forces and the Merchant Marines and their survivors of Sarasota County in preparing claims for and securing veterans benefits available to them by the federal and state statute. The VBU consists of state certified service officers. The VBU operates in conformance with FS 292.11 as an element of Health and Human Services. This will be playing in the background. I will not be reading from this. I just wanted to let you know that is what our job is. This is the purpose of the Veterans Benefit Unit. I'm trying to get to the one that's important. Okay. What are VA benefits, right? So there are a plethora of benefits that you can get from VA. One is VA healthcare, which is very important. Our office will help you sign up for VA healthcare if you're not already signed up. The VA does have some rules and regulations that go with that as far as your income, your service-connected disabilities, if you have any. They have an income bright line limit that you're allowed to have to get into VA healthcare, and we can talk about that anytime you like. If you have questions after this, let me know. Compensation means that while you are on active duty, you were hurt in the performance of your duties, or while you were on active duty, and that condition still affects you today. There are presumptive conditions such as those on the Agent Orange list, which we'll talk about when I get into the compensation portion. There is something called non-service connected pension, and the only way that you can get non-service connected pension is if you're a wartime era veteran who is below the poverty line. We'll talk about the amounts when we get there. The other one is called non-service connected pension with aid and attendance. That means that you are in need of aid and attendance of someone else. So either A, you live in an assisted living facility, or B, you're doing home health care that you pay for out of pocket. It's for unreimbursed medical expenses. And they have a cap on that, which is $150,538, which is the amount that you're allowed to have in order to use this program. The last one is going to be aid and attendance, pension with aid and attendance, but it's for your surviving spouse. The same income limit applies. So I talked about that, okay. And then this is our stats from 2022. We saw over 7,196 people last year between veterans and surviving spouses. Last year, I conducted 2,023 home visits and outreach contacts, such as what I'm doing now. We made over $12 million in new benefits for Sarasota County veterans and their surviving spouses. The National Cemetery has interred over 25,000 deceased veterans and spouses, and the reason why we add that up there is because we will help you do what's called a pre-needs form if you would like to be buried in the National Cemetery. Veterans and surviving spouse benefits for 2023. This is going to have the most accurate numbers from the VA for 2023. Every year in December, when you get a Social Security raise, the VA also gives everyone a raise. So the rates change every January. So January 1st, when you receive your first payment, it will be more than what you got the month before. Okay, so you have to have an honorable discharge. That's the beginning. You have to have served in a wartime period, okay? So not necessarily that you went to war, but you had to have served during a wartime period. We talked about this $150,538. That's your net worth, and it includes all your personal property that you own except for one house, your one car, your furniture, minus any debt that you owe. When they're talking about aid and attendance, they are talking about unreimbursed medical expenses only. They do not take into account what your mortgage is or your normal monthly bills. They are literally only talking about reimbursing you for your medical expenses, okay? So I had talked about non-service connected pension earlier, and that's to get you over the poverty line. That's if you had no job and very little asset, right? You would get paid by the VA $1,336 a month. That's not that you need the aid and attendance of someone else. That's more of a you cannot work for whatever specific medical reason that has nothing to do with the VA, okay? If you were married with a spouse, the amount would be this. And when they start talking about this non-service connected pension, they are adding your income and your spouse's income. And that goes for all pension programs, aid and attendance as well. So if you were married with one dependent and there was no other source of income, you would get $1,750 a month. The caveat to this is this. Let's say that your Social Security benefit was $654 a month. Let's say your spouse's was $423 a month. The only thing that the VA would give you is whatever it would take to get you to that $1,750 mark, okay? It's not an addition. Okay. The VA added some additional time to the war periods of service, and so that's why I'm going to go over all of them, okay? The Mexican border period was May the 9th of 1916 to April the 5th of 1917 for veterans who served in Mexico or on its border. World War I was April the 6th of 1917 to November 11th, 1918. World War II is determined to be December the 7th, 1941 to December the 31st, 1946. The Korean conflict is from June 27th of 1950 to January the 31st of 1955. Vietnam is the one that is mostly in question because the VA added extra dates, but they make sure that you had to be in the Republic of Vietnam during said time, okay? So the Vietnam era is November the 1st, 1955 to May the 7th of 1975 for veterans who served in the Republic of Vietnam during that period. August the 5th, 1964 to May the 7th of 1975 for veterans who served outside of the Republic of Vietnam, okay? That makes you a Vietnam era veteran, not a Vietnam veteran. So that is what the distinction is. You can still be eligible for benefits as long as any time in that period you were in the military, and before that it had to be you were physically in Vietnam. Gulf War is still ongoing, and that's from August of 1990 until Congress determines that the war is officially over. Okay. So this is what I was talking about, pension with aid and attendance. So let's say that you live in an assisted living facility and your income every month is $5,000, but it costs you in excess of $8 or $9 for you and your spouse to be in a facility or for just you to be in a facility. You could apply for this program as long as you were under $150,000, okay? They have some caveats and what they consider to be assisted daily living tasks, such as brushing your teeth, if you can't cook your own food anymore, so your meals have to be prepared, if you need someone to help you eat, cleaning your room, washing your laundry, taking you to and from your medical appointments, etc. You can claim the co-pays that you pay for your medications. You can claim what you pay for supplemental insurance. You're going to claim the deductible that you pay to Medicare. Those are the type of things that they're looking for. Okay, so let's say you live at home and you're doing home health care, right? You can get anywhere between $0 and $2,226 a month, $2,029 a month as a single veteran. If you have a dependent, meaning a spouse or a child under the age of 18 or deemed helpless before the age of 18, you can get the $2,642 a month award. Now this is for the veteran. The veteran and a spouse, the veteran and a child, the veteran, a spouse, and a child if all three apply. The important part of this is the claim itself is about 40 pages long. I have a sample in my bag if anybody wants to look at it. It's a lot. We will literally come to you if you live at a facility, or if you're doing home health care and you're housebound, we will come to your house to file this claim. You'll see my sunshiny face if it's at a facility. Now, if you're at home, it will be me and either my boss, Daryl, or one of my coworkers will come, okay? And that's just for safety purposes. I could tell a funny story, but we're in church. So I won't. I'm just gonna say that we have had some instances where we were a little scared, and so now if we go to your house, there will be more than one of us, okay? Just a little bit. Okay, now this is when we start talking about surviving spouse. So let's say you, the veteran, pass away, and now your spouse is in that situation, that your spouse needs to be in an assisted living facility, or they're doing at-home health care. In other words, either they're paying someone to take care of them, whether it's a home health service or they've hired like a CNA or a medical assistant on their own to come to the house and take care of them, okay? Okay. Now, when we were talking about non-service connected pension earlier, right, we were talking about you don't have a job, maybe your Social Security is very small, the VA will come and supplement. If you're the spouse and your Social Security is very small or your income is very small, the VA will supplement. But the max benefit that the VA will pay is $896 a month. If they have a child under the age of 18 or deemed helpless before the age of 18, the max is $1,173. Now, if your spouse is in need of aid and attendance and needs some reimbursed expenses, the VA will pay your spouse anywhere between $0 and $1,371. And I say that because it's an income-based program. So if all your income is not being wiped out by your medical care, that number will vary. They have their own mathematical equation that they use to get to the number, but that's what you need to know. For the most part, from what we see, if the person is living in an assisted living facility, normally they get the full amount. Okay, so that is my brief on survivors benefits with aid and attendance and pension with aid and attendance for a veteran. Now, because there are so many Vietnam vets in here, I honestly want to go over this, and I'm going to go over it quick so that you can ask all the questions that you want to ask. Okay, so this is for compensation. Okay. Can I get disability compensation from the VA? This is what I was talking about earlier. So if something happened to you during active duty and you still have that condition today, you need to apply for compensation. If you were in Vietnam and you have Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, and the outlying areas, including Guam, you should be coming to see us if you have anything on the presumptive list. The presumptive list is still growing for Vietnam veterans, so if you're unsure, we want you to call the office. A lot of times, depending on how well you stack your money, how well you squirreled it away when you were younger, you may have too much money for aid and attendance. But if you've been affected by something that is Agent Orange related, you can still receive compensation from the VA. Compensation from the VA doesn't have a net worth cap. There's not a rule to that. There's only a few ways that you can get a service connected. Either you were directly injured in service, you have a presumptive condition such as diabetes type 2, hypertension, Parkinson's. There's a list and we'll get to that page, but I wanted to make sure that you understand. The third way to get a compensation claim with the VA is to get something that's called an aggravated injury. So let's say you had tennis elbow before you joined the military, and then you were playing for, I don't know, the Navy's tennis team. And maybe this time you actually broke your elbow. It would be considered aggravated because you already had a previous injury. So let's say that the max that you can get from the VA is 40% for said elbow. Well, they're going to say you were 10% damaged in that elbow before you started to serve. So instead of giving you 40% for the elbow, they will give you 30%. Okay? Because it's aggravation. If you're unsure, call us and ask. We will tell you. Okay. Presumptive disabilities. And that is called a chronic, long-lasting illness that appears within 1 year after discharge, or an illness caused by contact with contaminants, toxic chemicals, or other hazardous materials, or an illness caused by your time spent as a prisoner of war. Those are presumed to be their fault. Okay, so this is the chart that I was talking about. It's probably too small for you to read, so I'm just gonna go through the Vietnam era veteran stuff. If anybody has questions on any other time period, please let me know and I will give you what you need to know. So AL amyloidosis, B-cell leukemia, chronic lymphatic leukemia, type 2 diabetes, Hodgkin's disease, ischemic heart disease, also coronary artery disease, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's disease, prostate cancer, any respiratory cancer, soft tissue sarcomas, Parkinsonism, hypothyroidism, bladder cancer, hypertension, and monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance. That's a lot to say. But it's generally a skin condition. If you have it, you definitely know you have it. If you have no idea what I just said, you probably do not have it. Okay, anybody Camp Lejeune? Okay, so I will skip the Camp Lejeune list, but this is the fun for Camp Lejeune. Camp Lejeune is kind of different because their families lived on base too. So their family members are eligible for some free health care, while the veteran themselves may be eligible for compensation. If you were there or you're unsure, give us a call and we'll help you to determine what your next steps are. Okay. This is talking about the Burn Pit Act of 2022, and that is what added the hypertension, Parkinsonism, and that that I can't pronounce to the list. It also added it so that Thailand, Guam, and Laos were added, as well as Cambodia, because a lot of people didn't realize that Agent Orange was sprayed in multiple locations, and for the longest time, Congress has been trying to get this passed, and it passed. They also added some good stuff for Gulf War veterans, but I think I may be the only one in the room. Okay, so here's the compensation rate table, just for general information. If you're at 10%, you get $165.92 a month. You can see if you're 100%, you get $3,332.03 a month. If you're a veteran with a spouse, that 100% gets you another $500. Now, the reason why I'm going to talk about this 100% is because if you have prostate cancer, if you have Parkinson's disease, if you have some of those respiratory cancers on the list, you may very well be 100%. It may not be permanent and total, because when you have cancer, you're usually 100% for a specific amount of time, and then you're reduced to 0% when you go into remission, okay? That's important because if you die of a service-connected condition, your spouse is also eligible to something called disability indemnification compensation. So for you Vietnam veterans, if you have hypertension, diabetes type 2, coronary artery disease, ischemic heart disease, and you pass away, your spouse is eligible for funds for the rest of their lives, okay? Your spouse would come in to see us. I would look at the death certificate, I would look at where you were stationed, and then I would say, sir or ma'am, this is what you're eligible to, and these are the things that I need from you. What we do for free. There are many components outside of here, law offices, etc., that will charge you upwards of $3,000 to file a claim. Everything that we do is free of charge because we are county employees. I would implore you, before you call a law office, to call us first. If you do not live in Sarasota County and you live in Manatee County or Port Charlotte County or any other county in the United States for that matter, if you don't know how to find a county service officer, call us and we will give you the number to the county service officer in the county in which you live. Okay? We're done with PowerPoints, and I want to open it so that you can ask all the questions that you'd like to ask. I try and reduce the amount of time where I speak so that you can get the time so you can speak. Does anybody have any questions for me? Yes, sir. How can I help you?
Hold on just a second. Let me get it on mic so that we've got it on the recording. If you guys don't mind, just raise your hands and I'll come see you.
He was first.
There he is.
On that list of places where Agent Orange, I also read through the VA system that Korea was in there, but you didn't read it out.
That's not part of the PACT Act. It has nothing, it doesn't say anything about Korea. Now, if you want to call the office, I can do some research for you and I'll let you know. They also started the Blue Water Act because a lot of ships were in that area, but they kept denying them. So what they're doing is they're going and they're checking the log books to see where every ship was at different times during Vietnam so that those people in the Navy could get service connected as well. Yes, sir.
I was a navigator on a ship in Vietnam. It was not listed in the latest list. I know one night we did go into Da Nang Harbor for a call for fire. Who can I talk to about that? I'll be
Call us. So
Okay.
first thing I'm going to do is check the ship list. The second thing I'm going to do, there's a couple of websites that you can go to. You can also go to the National Archives, find your ship, and then start looking for the records from when you were underway on that ship specifically. Okay. You can order it on the National Archives website for free to get that one page, or you can take a picture of the page yourself and print it out.
Okay. And then could you talk about the cemetery benefits? What do we need to do for that?
Okay, so there's a few things to do with the cemetery benefits. One, if you just want to know if you're eligible to be buried in the National Cemetery, we will do something called a pre-needs form. It's only one page. You're going to need to submit that as well as your discharge paper. That's one. Number two, do you plan to be buried or do you plan to be cremated? Yes. Okay. So let's say that you've made the decision that you want to be buried in the National Cemetery and your wife passes away first. Your wife can be buried at the National Cemetery, whether cremated or, old school. And what happens is whoever goes first is at the bottom and then the other person is stacked on the top. They don't put you side by side. I just wanted to tell you. Right, that's why I asked, do you wish to be cremated or buried? Yes, ma'am.
My husband was on a submarine and he was exposed to radiation. We didn't cover any of that. As I was wondering if there's any info on that.
Do you know what the condition is?
No, we just wondered if they had a list of those.
They tracked our exposure by means of film badges, so
Now they have TLDs. It's a little tiny thing there.
We noticed there was a column on, the middle one, atomic veterans.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the column for the? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So that says all forms of leukemia except for chronic lymphatic leukemia, cancer of the thyroid, breast, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestines, pancreas, bile ducts, gallbladder. That's a pretty long list. A urinary tract, brain, bone, lung, colon, or ovary. Multiple myeloma.
Must be the ovary thing.
I have to tell you, it's up there. Lymphomas other than Hodgkin's disease and primary liver cancer, except if there are indications of cirrhosis or hepatitis B. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Okay, well, maybe I won't close it all the way, just in case. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm here representing my husband, actually. So I'm interested, I think, in the aid and attendance. We're currently not paying for assistance right now, but there might be times when I need respite or like, can we apply ahead of time and use it when we need
No.
it, or you have to apply when you need
So
it?
aid and attendance is a reimbursement program, which means you have to be paying in order to
Okay.
file a claim. The other part of that is respite care is a thing that is available from the VA, and you can call the local Sarasota CBOC if you need the number. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
You need to call, you need to speak to a social worker. They are going to have to perform a basic physical on your husband and determine how disabled he is. Then we go into they want to know how much money you all make.
All that.
Okay.
Okay.
They offer 4 hours a day, 5 days a week for free. If you qualify, right? It's a good program. Now, the only problem with that program is you got to be under the income they want you to be. And it's not going to be the hours and the days you determine. It's going to be the hours and the days that they have available. Other than that, the program is great. It's just going to take you, it'll take a little while to get you started, but once you get in there, you're in there, and it's good.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay?
I was in the service between 60 and 62, so supposedly I would be eligible for a certain amount of money, 13. If I served out of the country, I was in the stateside all the time.
So if you were in the States the entire time, you would not be considered a wartime era veteran, because during that specific
It's-
time frame, I believe you had to have been in country.
Right, so I have to be out of the country in order to be eligible for that.
You had to be in Vietnam, yes, sir.
Okay.
Questions? Thanks. I'm just wondering too, is there anything relative to asbestos? You know, because that's going to be in the 50s and a little bit earlier time frame.
It's going to be later too.
Okay.
It depends what condition that they get from the asbestos.
Okay. Lung.
So, yeah,
Lung.
lung cancer.
Yeah, maybe. To be determined. Something new.
Okay, so it's something new.
Yeah.
When it's not something new and you have the exact diagnosis, call the office and book him an appointment.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. Also, when you start talking about lung cancer and the VA, one of the questions is gonna be, did he smoke? Okay, long as he never smoked. So once they do that pulmonary test and they see what's going on in there, if they feel it's because he was smoking, so that's kind of important, and you'll need to ask his doctor. Okay?
I am the widow of a Korean War Air Force veteran,
Yes, ma'am.
and I'm wondering if at any point in time I would be eligible for any compensation, for instance, in assisted living or a nursing home.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I was just talking about. So if he was in fact during the Korean conflict,
Yes, he was stationed in Japan, and they flew missions over Korea.
yes, ma'am. As
but-
long as you're under $150,538.
Uh-huh. Now, if I were in a nursing home, I would have sold my house. So would that make me ineligible?
If it puts you over $150,538.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people keep the house. As long as you don't rent the house, it doesn't count as an asset. You're
I
allowed
see.
one house, one car. And you give us a call. Either I will come and meet you at your facility, or you can come into the office, whichever one you choose.
But I wouldn't be eligible for anything now. Is that correct? As a widow?
No, ma'am.
No, it would have to be in the facility.
Not a facility. You could do home health care.
Oh, could you?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that would be to my benefit then.
If you're physically paying out of pocket for home health care, yes, ma'am.
Yes, so at that particular time, I would have someone in my family contact you and to get it set up. I wouldn't have to do it ahead of time?
You cannot do it ahead of time. So you have to physically have been paying out of pocket before you can apply.
I see.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
And I also wanted to say my husband received exceptionally fine care up at Bay Pines. And
VA healthcare is pretty
yes,
good.
Yes,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I used the van to go back and forth, and then was a patient there many times as well. And we were very pleased with the help he received, so thank you for that.
You're welcome. I can't take credit for that one,
No,
but I
no,
appreciate it.
For others who might want to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the VA currently paying for nursing home care for veterans who are Korean War veterans?
So, yes, but it depends. So, are you receiving Medicaid benefits to live in skilled nursing?
I'm not in a nursing home now, but I'm thinking for the future. Now, if I went
Okay.
into a nursing home,
So there's a
would they help
difference.
me pay my expenses, and would they do it by taking away something that I'm currently getting compensation for?
Well, how much compensation are you getting?
I don't know the exact amount, but
Okay, so this is the general rule, right? The way that the VA works is you can't double dip. So if you're 100% with the VA, it would not make sense for you to file an aid and attendance claim. But if one of your conditions causes you to be in that assisted living facility, they have something called special monthly compensation, where they add another $300 and something to your compensation every month for you to live in said facility. Now, if you are 90%, right? Even at 90%, that's pretty close to what you would get from the VA for aid and attendance. If you are 70% and lower, I would tell you you need to switch from compensation to aid and attendance. The VA won't let you have both. So the minute that you run that other claim, what the VA does is determine what's the greater benefit for you. And if the greater benefit for you is the pension with the aid and attendance, the compensation goes away and the aid and attendance replaces it. It doesn't mean that you're no longer service connected. It just means they gave you the benefit that's going to give you more to help you more.
I see.
But there's a difference between assisted living, independent living,
Yeah.
and nursing home care, right? So when you think care, independent living means you get no care at all, okay? Which means the VA will not help you pay for any of it. When you go to assisted living, right? I just gave you the numbers, about approximately between $0 and that $2,229 a month that you can receive for aid and attendance. When you go to skilled nursing, normally you get picked up by Medicaid. If you get picked up by Medicaid, you cannot have Medicaid and pension with aid and attendance. The VA will give you something called the stipend of $90 a month for your incidentals, and Medicaid will allow you to keep $130 a month of your Social Security for the same, okay? Now, if you are on something called Medicaid diversion, where you still have a very large out-of-pocket cost, in other words, they're taking your Social Security, they take your retirement, they've made you liquidate your IRAs, and you still have, I don't want to say an astronomical out-of-pocket cost, but you still have an out-of-pocket cost in excess, then you can still apply for aid and attendance, and the VA will give you a portion in the middle. Make sense?
Yeah.
You just have to remember they're all federally funded programs, so you cannot double dip in any of them. Yes, ma'am?
Get my workout. I love this. Okay, good. We're just starting into this whole process, and we're struggling to get the correct discharge papers. I've got somebody else's discharge papers, but not my husband's. Yeah, I know that's a little scary. But is that something, if we come into you, we've done it through the website, we filled out the forms, we've done it by mail. If we come to you, can you help us?
Oh, my turn. Okay, so this is one of my favorites. You're not the first person to tell me that they've got the wrong person's discharge from the archives. What I will tell you is this. If he cannot find his correct discharge, right? Because the little cute honorable certificate that they give all of us when we get out that we get so excited about is not your real discharge paper, right? So the other thing that we will tell you to do is to come in and do something called the 2122, and that's the assignment of a veteran service organization. That is going to give us access to look into your spouse or your dad, I'm not sure, or your mom, because women serve. It will give us access into that record. If the person's discharge paper is already in there and it is the correct one, we'll just go from there. But at least give us a shot to turn it on so that we can look around. And if it's actually not in there, then I will tell you it's actually not in there, and we'll do a new SF-180 request for you, which is what you did online, but we'll send it out in hopes that we get the correct one. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes, sir? Oh. She's jogging.
I don't think I had it on before.
That's okay.
Okay, you said you could only keep a house and a car.
One house, one car.
Okay, now, I have a reverse mortgage. So I have, if I have pending line of credit on that house yet, does
A
that,
line of credit is not cash in the bank. That's different.
so that, okay. So that would not count, I mean.
No, I've done aid and attendance claims for people with reverse mortgage. So we can help you.
Yeah, okay. So even though I can have all this money, it doesn't count. Whatever's left.
We'll see what's in there and I will tell you.
Yeah, there isn't that much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, is there a VA assisted or skilled facility in the Sarasota area?
Port Charlotte is the closest VA nursing home.
Okay. And is counting for 1 day of active duty during a wartime, would active duty training for 1 year during the 50s, would that count?
Depends.
Okay. And then also the homemaker hours, what's the maximum that they give for that?
What do you mean homemaker?
Homemaker and health aid benefits you get through your health insurance. How many hours do you know what the maximum you can receive on that?
I don't understand.
Through your physician, like if you live at home and you get health benefits and you're.
Are you talking about respite care?
No.
No, not respite care. So you're talking about for aid and attendance?
No, not aid and attendance. It's through your health insurance. If your primary decides that you need some assistance at home under the homemaker and home aid, how many hours, do you know how many hours is the maximum you can get on that program?
No, ma'am, that's not a program that we apply for.
Okay,
So
that's just through your VA physician then?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
But I would think that would go under the guise of respite care because that's what it sounds like. And you get 20 hours a week. So I would venture to guess 80 hours a month.
Yeah, because I know somebody that's getting 40, and I don't know, my father just said that he can get 20, but then I heard you can get 40, so I'm just wondering how many.
How much money? Everything goes down to how much money. How much money do they have? How close to the bright line are they? What their specific individual needs are is how they determine how much respite care he may get to versus what he may get. If your father's gait is terrible and his gait is pretty good, he may not need a whole 20 hours a week, where your dad may. It kind of depends.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am?
Do you talk about CHAMP VA benefits?
So we can talk about CHAMP VA. So CHAMP VA means either your spouse is 100% permanent and totally disabled, which means that will qualify you. B, your spouse died of a service-connected disability, that will qualify you. The important thing to know about CHAMP VA is that you have to be paying for Medicare Part A and Part B. A lot of people are changing their Medicare plans, and when you change your Medicare plan, it messes with your eligibility for CHAMP VA. So before you make those decisions, I would call the CHAMP VA number to verify that it's okay.
Like I have an Advantage plan. I have a Medicare Advantage plan. Does it have to be?
It has to be A and B.
Yeah, well, Medicare
As long
Advantage.
as whatever program that you're under Medicare covers A and B, and they state that they cover A and B, then CHAMP VA will also cover. So CHAMP VA is considered supplemental insurance, it's not primary insurance. So in other words, whatever
Okay.
your primary insurance doesn't pay, Champ VA will pay. Same thing with your medication copays and your doctor copays. And then either once a quarter or once a year, some people, it depends how they feel, they will sit up there and they will file a claim for all of the unreimbursed expenses through Champ VA so that they can get their reimbursement. You can do it once a month, once a quarter, once a year, however you like it, as long as you have the patience to wait for them to adjudicate it and then send you your check in the mail.
Okay, so you actually pay it first and then get reimbursed.
Well, Champ VA will give you a card, and I would, when you go to the doctor, you're going to give them your Medicare card. If you have supplemental insurance, you'll give them your supplemental insurance also. Then you hand them your Champ VA card, and you should end up with no copay. But on the off chance that they say you still have one, you pay the copay, and then you file the Champ VA claim after.
Okay, and is there a premium for Champ VA?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
How do we get that card for Champ VA?
So we will help you do the application. We will mail out the application for you. After that, about a month, you get a nice little package that tells you all the things that Champ VA covers and doesn't cover, and their guidebook. And in that book, your little card comes with it.
So do we give us your name? Should we contact you for that? How does that work?
Yes, ma'am. You can contact our office.
Okay.
We will help you fill out your Champ VA application. It has to go with a copy of the veteran's DD-214. And if you have the thing that says, hey, this person is 100%, you need to bring that with you.
Okay.
Okay?
And it's called Champ VA, CHAMP? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So just for the veteran, not for the spouse?
Champ VA is for the spouse and the children. But the only way that you qualify is if the veteran is 100% permanent and totally disabled, or the veteran passed away from a service-connected condition. So let's say your spouse was service-connected for a heart condition, but not at 100%, right? The minute that your spouse passes away, when you start your DIC, you would also apply for Champ VA so that you can get all your benefits at once. Your DIC will start first, though, promise. Champ VA will take a little longer. Yes, sir.
The mic. If one were currently over the bright line, as you call it, in terms of assets and net worth, but were to gift a portion or put a portion into an irrevocable trust that does not benefit the veteran, to bring the total assets, one house, one car, and others, below the 150, would one then qualify?
So I'm going to be honest. The VA does a 3-year IRS look back.
So that was my next question. Is there a look back?
There is. So there's a 3-year look back. So if you give away, gift, put stuff in a trust, put stuff in an irrevocable trust, there's literally a portion of a 21P0969, which is the income and asset form. I have a copy in my bag if you want to see it, but it literally asks, do you have it? How much is in it? They want a complete copy of it. You can get banned from the VA for up to 5 years from applying for benefits. Had to be honest, right? 3-year look back. They used to not have a look back, and they figured out that that's what people were doing, and so they kind of tightened the screws a little bit. So, yes, sir.
I use the Bay Pines quite a bit. I use Bay Pines, okay, and I do not understand. Maybe you could explain this to me. If the doctor that's assigned to me at Bay Pines says fills a prescription through their pharmacy, I always end up paying.
Do you have a copay in general with the VA?
Probably. I usually, when I go there, I have my a supplemental card, which we have through Aetna, and I hand it in. So I have only paid about once because I go to public saying don't have to pay, you know. But I was just curious as to, wouldn't that be kind of like double dipping by the VA?
So I'm going to be honest and say, even if you're a service-connected veteran and you go to the VA, if the VA knows that you have any other form of insurance, they will charge your insurance first.
Yeah, I understand.
Right? If you are over the bright line limit, you are going to have a copay if you're less than 50% disabled.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
So that's why you have a copay.
Okay.
Any other questions for Aretha? I think what I heard in the last hour is that if you believe you are entitled to any benefits, Aretha should become your new best friend.
Well, not just Aretha. We have 6 service officers. And I only say that because on Wednesday and Thursday, this is my full-time gig. I go to facilities, colleges, and the like to see people in person so that I can file claims for people at ALFs on site. My little laptop and my book bag has a printer and all the extra stuff. So if you only want to see me, you can only see me on a Monday, a Tuesday, or a Friday. So my schedule is booked all the time. But my boss sees people Monday through Friday, half a day, and then we have a nice veteran service officer in Sarasota named Rose, and she sees people every day but Thursday, because that's her specific day of the week that she's off. She's also in the Navy. My boss, Daryl, was in the Navy. He's also retired Navy. In Venice, we have a nice man named Tom, and Tom will be more than happy to help you. He's a Marine Corps officer. He's retired, well, not retired. He served in the Marines. And then if you go to Northport, we have Mr. Call, who was in the Army and the Marine Corps. He's a double dipper. He's a retiree. Any of us would be more than happy to help you.
Great. Thank you for your time today.
Thank
This has
you.
been very helpful.